Hi everyone, Ashley here and welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. This video is fun because it's another video as part of the Fawn Fans YouTube Hop, and I take part in these quarterly, so you might have seen other ones on my channel already, but this is the summer hop for 2022, featuring a lot of Fawn products from their latest summer release. Because this is part of a hop, check down in that description below the video and you'll see where to go for the next video, and you can hop along to all the videos. It's all made by Fawn fans making cards using Fawn products inspired by summer. A lot of them are using these new products, but that's not a prerequisite. We can use any Fawn products as long as we're inspired by summer. So I hope you enjoy the hop. Keep watching all the other videos, and there is a giveaway involved too, so check out the description below for that information. Okay, so I'm going to move into the card making. I started by making this background, and this is a background that I made inspired by one of the design team members on Fawn, Maureen. She made this fun sort of deck looking background, and I sort of was inspired by that. So essentially I just used the background Fawn die that cuts the background into these 5 horizontal strips, and then I just sort of blended the edges of each strip with some brown distress oxide ink. And then I just glued them onto a panel, so you get this whole background made from these 5 strips that each have a little bit of distressing sort of inking on the edges, and that just sort of helps set up this deck-like feel. Next, I took a couple pieces of Fawn's Gold Rush cardstock, which is this really pretty sort of like yellow tan cardstock that has gold flecks in it. I love using it for sand. That's my favorite application of it. And I cut 2 pieces of that out using a wavy die. And for each one, I just use the wavy die twice. So once to cut out the bottom edge, once to cut out the top edge. And that's just creating those 2 sort of thin wavy gold pieces. I then use those same dies on my background piece, one near the top and one near the bottom. And what that does is it creates this cutout in the middle of the background that's the same shape as those 2 gold pieces. So you can see here I'm laying them over top, so those gold pieces fit exactly over the edges because I use the same die to cut them both. So I'm just gluing those gold pieces now to cover those edges that I had die cut. So I'll have one top piece that has the gold edge on the bottom, and then I'll have one bottom piece that has the gold edge on the top. Now this is going to be turned into a shaker card. So next I cut out a brown frame using a Fawn frame die. This is the full size of an A2 size card, so that frame measures 5.5 by 4.25 inches. And then I can just glue these background pieces onto the back of that frame. So I'm gluing that top piece just onto the top of the frame and then the bottom piece onto the bottom of the frame, and I'm gluing them from behind. So what that means is that the frame will be on the top, and then these deck pieces with this cutout in the middle will be showing from behind. This will form my shaker, and you'll see in a moment here I'll use acetate next. So the idea behind this card was that I wanted it to look like a lazy river. So that's why I used that sort of like squiggly die to cut out the edges, because I wanted it to look like a river that was sort of squiggly. So here I am now, I have a piece of acetate and I'm just gluing that onto the back of this panel. So overall, this entire piece will sort of form the front of the shaker, and I will be putting in some sequins and things to make it look like water. So I just added a whole bunch of foam tape to the back of this piece, and this will form sort of the shaker pocket. And I'm trying to just sort of add in foam to make sure that not too much of the background is showing so that the sequins will stick where that lazy river opening is. I'm taking my anti-static tool and just rubbing it along the edges of that exposed tape, and I find that that helps sort of reduce the stickiness and allows the sequins inside the shaker to move around a little bit easier. I've got 3 different types of sequins that I'm putting into this shaker. One is like a small light blue, almost like glass bead, like tiny, but they're called bubbles, which I thought was appropriate for water. One is a slightly bigger blue seed bead, and then the third one will be sort of clear bubble-shaped sequins. So I'm just filling those in and making sure that they're nice and even and flat in that shaker window, and that they'll provide adequate shaker coverage, because I love a good shaker that has lots of sequins in it. So once I've added in all the sequins for the shaker, I can go ahead and remove that release tape from the foam, and then I can take a piece of background paper. I'm just using a piece of pattern paper here that has a light blue color, kind of looks like water, and I'm just sticking that straight down onto the foam, and I'm pressing down really hard because I want to make sure that all of that sticky double-sided foam tape is nice and adhered to this paper, because when I turn it over, that's what's going to keep all the sequins in. So you can see when I turn it over, you now have that blue pattern paper piece at the back of the shaker, and all of the other things at the front. And then you can shake it around, and it's so much fun. It's better in real life because you can actually hear the sequins, which I think is the best part. Okay, so now I'm moving on to working on the sentiment. And I took out some ABC dies from Lawn Fawn to spell the word lazy. Then I took out a piece of pink cardstock and then some pink Distress Oxide ink. And I just blended a little bit of ink onto that cardstock just to create kind of like a two-toned look. Makes it a little bit more interesting and less flat than just having the plain pink paper. I use that to die cut the word lazy. So you can see on each letter you get kind of that two-toned pink look. And then I'm taking my clear Wink of Stella marker and adding a little bit of shimmer to the letters, and this just gives them a nice detail. I love everything sparkly, so this helps. To finish off the sentiment, I'm using a stamp from another stamp set. The stamp itself says "Have a happy day," but I want the sentiment to say "Have a lazy day." So I'm going to be doing some selective stamping and masking here. So first I'm stamping the "have a" part of the sentiment, so I'm masking off the rest of it, and then I'm taking that same pink ink, I believe this is Lawn Fawn Guava, that was the same as the paper I had used for the word lazy, so everything matches. So I use that to ink up the "have a" part of the sentiment, and then I'm just stamping it onto this white banner that I die cut out of a piece of white cardstock using the Lawn Fawn banner dies. It's just a straight banner piece. Next I'm going to be stamping out the word "day." So now I'm masking off the other part of the sentiment and then using that same color ink to stamp the word "day." And I'm doing this towards the other end of the banner, and you'll see why in a moment. I end up cutting it apart. So here I'm just removing that mask after I've inked, and then I can stamp down the word "day" onto that same white banner. So now I have a white banner that says "Have a day," and I'm going to of course fit the word "lazy" in the middle. So to do that I'm just cutting apart the banner at each edge. So I'm just cutting kind of towards the words, but leaving those banner edges. So what'll happen is I'll have a lazy day with the word lazy die cut in the middle and the banners on each side. Okay, so I've done a lot here off camera. I went ahead and stamped, colored, and cut out a whole bunch of images from one of Lawn Fawn's most newly released stamp sets, and I think it's one of my favorite ones from the newest release. I think it's called Pool Party, but if you want to see all of the items that I'm using and all the supplies that I've used for this card, please do check down in the description box below. I've listed everything down there, so if you have any, if you want to sort of use any of the elements from this card and sort of remake it, you can definitely do that by checking out that description. So once I had all my images colored and cut out, I laid them out onto the card where I wanted them to be, and I really wanted it to look like these three critters were floating down the lazy river on their little inner tubes, and then you have a couple of extra critters sitting off to the side on their towels just sort of lounging, and then of course there's a whole bunch of like accessory pieces like the coconut and sunscreen, which come from a different older stamp set by Lawn Fawn. Again, check that description down below, and of course a whole bunch of water splashes. I just went through one by one and stuck all of these down with some liquid glue, which was easy to do once I sort of had placed them all out, because then it was just a matter of pick up the image, stick it down. So then you get this really cute scene with those beautiful sequins shaking in the background. To finish off the card, I can take the whole panel and add some liquid glue to the back and then stick it down to an A2 size card base, which is 5.5 by 4.25. Again, the same size that frame cut out, so everything is fit perfectly. And that is it. That is the final card. This was such a fun card to make, and I love turning cards into shakers with these cute little pool friends. Have the sequins kind of look like the moving water behind them. I think it's so fun. And I just had a really fun time making this card, and I encourage you to try making a shaker with these pool friends if you have them in your stash as well. Again, please check out that description box below to hop to the next video and check it out for also the giveaway details. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of my cards, check out my Instagram account, which again is linked down in that description box below the video. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!